Hey, it's time for your Monday book talks. This week I picked up my game a little bit and read 5 books. All great stories. I didn't have a dud at all this week. Everything was really good. The first one I'm going to talk about is Kill the Boy Band. This is by Goldie Moldavsky. Dark humor about a group of girls who are fangirls for this band called the Ruperts, who managed to kidnap one of the members. Unfortunately, he's the member that most of the girls dislike the most. However, the girl that managed to kidnap him, named Apple, he is her favorite Rupert. Well, situation goes horribly wrong, and the girls have to figure out how they're going to deal with it. But the book in itself is absolutely hilarious. If you like dark humor, or if you're interested in the culture of fangirls obsessing about famous musicians, you might like it. I bought it for East, so we'll have it there in the fall if you want to check it out. Also read Symptoms of Being a Human. This is by Jeff Garvin, and this is about an individual who is gender fluid. Riley is the child of a congressman who is up for re-election. Riley recently transferred from a Catholic school to public school following a suicide attempt and hospitalization, and part of their therapy, as prescribed by their therapist, is to do a reflective journal. And Riley decides to do this in the form of an anonymous blog that gets a lot more attention than anybody could have anticipated. Riley also makes some new friends at her school who introduce her to a support group for gender non-conforming individuals, where she finds some friends and some support as well. I was really touched by this story. I don't have a lot of experience with people who are gender fluid, but they do exist. I feel that it is important for people to read stories from the point of view of people that are not like them. It is a great way to become more empathetic and to understand people that are different from you. But even that said, it's a great story in and of itself. I really was moved along with the character. I wanted to know what was going to happen to them, and I loved the way everything worked out in the end. So, Symptoms of Being a Human, great story. Also read Highly Illogical Behavior by John Corey Whaley, and I've loved everything else that he's written, and I would highly recommend this book as well. It is about Solomon Reed, a boy who has not left his house in 3 years. He is agoraphobic. He started having panic attacks when he was in elementary school, and they progressed to the point where by the time he was in junior high, he was having multiple panic attacks a day, to the point where when he was in 8th grade, he decided that he was going, I don't know if he decided, it just happened. He took all of his clothes off and laid down in the fountain in front of the school, and after that, he stopped going to public school. His parents tried to get him into some therapists and on some medicine, and he convinced them that, no, really, I only panic when I go outside, so the solution is to not go outside. I panic less when I'm at home. So he starts being homeschooled, and he thinks his life is pretty great. One of his former classmates from junior high, she is going to enter into a psychology program in college, and there is a scholarship essay that she decides to write using Solomon as her subject. The subject of the essay is called My Personal Experience with Mental Illness. So she decides she's going to take him on as a project and fix him. She's going to help him get outside through her powers of friendship and psychological analysis. So she insinuates herself through his mother, who is a dentist. She goes to an appointment, pretends to just now notice that her name is the same last name as Solomon's, who she remembers from junior high, gives the mother a letter, and then from then on starts to hang out with Solomon all the time. She brings her boyfriend into the relationship, for the friendship as well, and things start to get a little more complicated from that point on. But I really liked the dialogue in the story. Everybody was really funny and witty, and the characters were really cute. The relationships between them were very interesting, and the story itself just moved very quickly and pulled me right along. I would definitely recommend it for people interested in people with agoraphobia, or just a good friendship story. It was good all the way around. I also read, I just finished before I started this video, It's called If He Had Been With Me by Laura Nowlin. Now, Wheatley McLean recommended this to me, so thank you, Wheatley. And it was a really good story. It's a tender story of two young people who grew up next door to each other. Their mothers were best friends. They were born about the same time. So they've always been in each other's lives. So yes, it is one of those stories where the boy and the girl next door are in love, and then they're not. And they're best friends, and then they're not. And other people are in their lives, and they make it more complicated. They kind of grow apart, and then they come back together. It was a really cute story, but it made me so angry at the end. So angry. I don't want to spoil it for you and tell you what happened, but that was the only part of the book that I did not enjoy. So they kind of tell you, they foreshadow at the beginning, but no, okay. I really didn't like that part. But anyway, if you like stories that are sweet but then also make you very angry, then you may enjoy If He Had Been With Me by Laura Nowlin. Also, the last one that I read was called Kiss of Deception by Mary Pearson. It is the first book in the Remnant Chronicles. I listened to it on audio. There were a couple of different narrators, so it wasn't full cast, but it was close, and it was pretty good. It is a fantasy set in the Kingdom of Morrigan. The main character, Leah, is a first daughter, and in her culture, first daughters are considered to be potential bearers of what they call the gift. And the gift seems to be mostly kind of a way to foretell the future. Not like exactly having visions or anything like that, but they kind of sort of know what's going to happen maybe. And the main character, she doesn't think that she has the gift. But at the beginning of the book, her father has arranged a marriage for her with a prince from another kingdom, and she decides she's not having any of that. She and her maid steal some horses, and they run off, and they stay in hiding pretty successfully for a while. However, two people have been sent after her. One is an assassin from Vinda, a country that they refer to those peoples as barbarians, which of course they take offense to in Vinda. And the other person is the prince, who she assumed was an elderly, gross guy who couldn't possibly get a girlfriend. He has to have his dad arrange his relationships for him. And of course, when they both find her, they know who she is, but she doesn't know who they are. So they kind of hang around her for quite a long time before anything significant happens to change the direction of the story. But it was a really good story. I really liked it. A very strong female character. Interesting, I thought, male characters. I was kind of confused for part of the book, and I had the identities of the assassin and the prince like switched in my mind somehow. So when things changed, I was like, what? But anyway, that was my fault for letting my attention wander. But it was a great story, and it's part of a trilogy. The second one is called Heart of Betrayal, and I will be finding that next and reading it. So, as I've said before, I would love to know what you guys are reading this summer. So, #CanesRead. Let us know, and we'll see you next week.